once again to our show that is called Real Shame, where we watch movies from our movie list of shame or movie blind spot. Basically, movies that we probably should have seen, but we're remedying that right now. My name is Adam.
My name is Andy.
I don't know what that is. It's Adam.
Adam.
Hey, Adam. Sure. It is for this week or this day. Earlier in the week, we talked about the Coen Brothers' first movie, Joel and Ethan Coen, which was called Blood Simple, and we're following that up with
A Woman, a Gun, and a Noodle Shop. Or you can call it A Simple Noodle Story if you'd like. Pairs closer to Blood Simple. They both have the word simple in them. All right. Wang runs a noodle shop in a remote area of ancient China. When Wang's wife wants to divorce him so she can be with Li, Wang's employee, Wang enlists policeman Zhang to kill them both. Does this sound familiar? It should, because as we stated, it's a Chinese remake of Blood Simple. A Woman, a Gun, and a Noodle Shop.
请坐。他俩的事儿，你咋发现的？
南坡偶尔撞见。
哦，你不是要钱吗？我给你个大活，杀了他俩。我给你10贯。你在巡逻队，每个月差钱就250个大字儿。我给你10贯，够你干几年吧？
So this came out 25 years after Blood Simple. Blood Simple came out in 1984. This movie was released in, according to what I have, December of 2009. I hope that's accurate. It was directed by Zhang Yimou. I know I'm saying that poorly, but that's the best of my ability. He is a pretty prolific Chinese filmmaker. He's made, usually his movies are a lot more serious than this film. Yeah. This film is a little more slapsticky comedy almost. Well, not almost. It is kind of more of a comedy. But he's done things like Raise the Red Lantern, Hero with Jet Li, House of Flying Daggers, Shanghai Triad, some very, very cool movies, very visually stunning movies. Yep. But this is kind of a departure for him. It's a little more, I don't want to say screwball, but it's definitely jokey and comical, more comical. Although it does, again, because it's a remake of Blood Simple, it has murders in it. Yep. It actually has more murders, I believe, than the original film. Marty, so the character was Julian Marty in Blood Simple. It's Wang in this film. Yep. Abby becomes Wang's wife. She doesn't have a name, and that she's literally listed as Wang's wife in at least the IMDb credits. They never call her by name. Ray character becomes Li. So Abby and Li are having an affair. Wang is the husband. Yep. The husband who's being cheated on. Visser, the private eye, is now the policeman Zhang. And you don't have a Maurice character. He was the other bartender in Blood Simple. Yep. Instead, you have two characters, Zhao and Qin. It's a man with very prominent teeth, very prominent buck teeth.
He might lose one of them.
And Qin, who is, I don't know, his girlfriend, something like that. But they all work in the noodle shop together, except for obviously the policeman Zhang, who is enlisted by Wang to kill Wang's wife and Li.
We have no Po in this.
What's that?
No Po.
No Po. No Kung Fu Panda. Yeah. So this is a movie that I've seen once before because I think I may have heard about this film from Blu-ray.com. I think maybe they reviewed it back in the day. And I love Blood Simple, so I was like, I've got to get a copy of this film. Yeah. So I actually bought the Blu-ray and watched it back in the day. But this is a film you'd never seen. You've never seen Blood Simple. You've never seen Simple Noodle Story, Woman Gun Noodle Shop, whatever you want to call it. So you liked Blood Simple?
I did.
What did you have the same reaction to?
It may not sound that way, but I did like Blood Simple.
No. I mean, I definitely felt like you liked it. What did you think about this Chinese remake? Very different.
Yeah,
but the same somehow.
I wrote in my notes, this one doesn't bring a whole lot new to the table.
Yeah.
I think it does deviate, and I think some of the places it deviates, it's interesting. Mm-hmm. I think this movie would play better if I wasn't watching it the day after I watched Blood Simple, right?
Okay.
because for me, watching it this time is like, what's the same? What's the difference?
Well,
And-
yeah,
And
I had fun with that. Though.
Yeah, I know it's fun, but I also felt like I was kind of doing a disservice a little bit by doing it that way.
Yeah.
And it would have been better if it's like I kind of know Blood Simple, but I'm not like just watched it, within the last 24 hours, and here we are watching it. Right?
You watched them simultaneously.
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah.
Oh, okay, now they got to do that. All right, now they did this. Now they did
Yeah,
that.
for sure. And I think there are some things that might line up, like Dark Side of the Moon and Wizard Oz style, of them playing together.
Right. Yeah.
I do think the movie's very visually pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like the bright costumes, I like the vistas outside, I like the noodle shop. I think it's kind of criminal a little bit that a lot of this movie takes place at night, or what looked like shot day for night, because
it does look like that. Yeah.
there's a lot of shadows, and I'm like, I don't think there's shadows when when the moon's out.
I think there's definitely some day for night stuff going on.
But so the fact that it is shot day for night just kind of took away from all that visual splendor that I liked from the daytime stuff, and I wish it kind of had more of that. But ultimately, it was an interesting watch for me. Again, not as good as Blood Simple. It does kind of do what I wish Blood Simple did a little bit, which is you kind of have some of these really elevated, really quirky characters in the mix, kind of to spice things up. I don't think, not exactly what I was looking for when I was talking about that, but and then there's some of the things they chose to recreate, particularly the ending scene. You're like, that's why we do it that way.
I kind of like that,
with the water drop, because like it makes sense in Blood Simple, but in this one is just like, no, we're just gonna do this weird like warble teardrop from the water point of view, and I guess it comes from one of the tea kettles, so maybe
he shot it with an arrow. He shot
that,
and because you see the arrow go through it, and the water sploosh down everywhere.
Yeah,
so it's coming from that.
Yeah, okay, so that kind of, maybe I take that back a little bit, that criticism.
Well, the way that I agree with the way that they shoot it, and the way that the visual effect that they do is kind of bizarre. I agree with that.
And I do like, because I was like, okay, well, we're in the part now of the final confrontation. I'm like, is he going to use a gun? I mean, we kind of don't know what guns are around here. And it's also like, oh no, he's got like a crossbow or something like that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So ultimately for me, this movie is very interesting. It's kind of interesting seeing the two compare. But again, I think I would have got more enjoyment of this if, I was very familiar with A Simple Plan. Nope, not A Simple Plan.
Not Shallow Grave, not A Simple Plan, Blood Simple.
If I was familiar with Blood Simple, and was watching this, maybe like a year after I watched it, and just kind of like reminiscing and stuff like that. So that's kind of, I think I covered the bulk of what I wanted to cover. But this is your second time, sounds like, watching it.
Second time.
What do you think about it this time around?
I like it. I'm different than you. I liked watching them very close together.
Yeah.
So I watched Blood Simple one day and I watched this the next day. So Blood Simple was very fresh on my mind. And I liked seeing, because I knew exactly what was going to happen. Or not exactly what was going to happen, but I knew the basic beats, the basic plot points that they were going to do, even if there's obviously some things that they had to change in this film. He's not going to produce doctored photos in this movie like, Visser does in the original film, because it's not possible. So they have different ways of getting around that. I think that's kind of cool. In the first movie, the only character, the only character that dies in the first movie, or the only two characters that die, are Marty and then Ray at the end. Well, and then Visser at the end, I'm sorry. In this film, not only does the Marty character or Wang die, but they also kill one half of the Maurice character. If you want to think of it, they kill Zhao. And that's how because he leaves his pipe behind, right? So that's kind of like the lighter in the first film. So it's a little slightly different. So there's an extra murder in this film, and that's what leads the policeman back to try and kill them both. He does kill Lee, just like he kills Ray in the first film, and then Wang's wife kills him, just like Abby kills Visser in the and in this film, she knows it's not her husband because he punches through the wall. And I love the fact that she stabs him with the little scissors or whatever, just like in the other film. I like the parallel there.
There's definitely Chekhov scissors in this movie.
Yes, you see them. You see them a few times. But yeah, I enjoy it pretty much I don't want to say primarily on the basis of that, but I think that's to me the most fun thing about the film is just seeing how they pay tribute and how they remake Blood Simple. If I was watching this movie, if I'd never seen Blood Simple and didn't know the plot, and it just was watching this as a standalone movie, so it was a completely original plot to me. I don't know how I would feel, and I can't say because I obviously know that it's based off of Blood Simple, and I've obviously seen Blood Simple. I mean, some of the choices of the character, like the guy with the teeth, I don't know why they have why that character's like that. I mean,
that's just like
I think kind of a goofy.
Yeah, I think that comes from I mean, obviously, not this is a Westerner talking about Chinese culture and stuff like that, but I would say that's probably steeped from like Chinese opera and stuff like that, and that's probably like a stereotype of that because I feel like I've seen characters like that in like other Chinese movies I've watched, like the Chinese kung fu movies and the Chinese martial arts movies and stuff like that. I feel like that kind of big with buck teeth is a common caricature.
Yeah.
But let us know if we're incorrect on that. But that's just kind of I believe that's the case.
Yeah, I mean it's a weird choice. I'm not saying I dislike it necessarily, but it's just kind of a weird choice. They have a part in the movie. This is one of the things I wrote down. They have a part in the movie where they're spinning up dough.
I love that part.
I did too.
I think
even though it doesn't add anything to the plot, but I was like, that's cool. Like they're all taking turns, like pass it to each other. I was like, this is awesome.
I could have used more of that.
I agree with you. I think visually it's cool. I like the colors, as you said, the bright colors and all that stuff. Again, the performances, they're much broader in this film. They're much more understated in the original film. It's more of a gritty, hard-boiled kind of film noir. This is more comedic. I mean, there's just no other way to say it. And I know that was intentional, obviously. But I like this movie because it's cool to see how they translate this to ancient China, out in the middle of nowhere, basically, out in the desert, because there's all these mountains and it's barren. I mean, there's really nothing else besides the noodle shop.
Yeah,
and
they're firing
their house and
the
everything.
Cannon to nowhere. The mountains and stuff like that.
Yeah, the movie starts off pretty crazy.
Yeah,
with
it does.
The Persian guy, he's like
doing all the
cutting,
swordplay and stuff.
It's very odd.
It is very odd. I do think like if I'm going to be critical about this movie, it seems like they're not 100% sure what a gun is when he shows them a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they seem pretty proficient with it or how it works. And I'm just like, I don't know if that really makes sense in the context of the movie. But again, that's me being really, really critical of this.
And of course, I like the fact that they retained just the 3 bullets. Of course, this gun only has 3 bullets. That's it.
3 chambers,
The original gun has, you could put 6 bullets in there, and it's only got 3. But yeah, I like that. And obviously, if they didn't keep that, I would be kind of pissed, right?
Oh,
What the hell? But consequently, because of that, when he pulls out the gun, it's just jammed. Like he doesn't actually pull the trigger and it clicks or anything like that. It's just jammed. So it's a little bit different, but the same in many ways.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's a fun movie. It's a fun compliment to see this next to Blood Simple. You may be more in his camp. You may want to watch them further apart, or you may be more in my camp. You want to watch them closer together. But either way,
2 screens going at the same time.
Yeah, don't watch them simultaneously with Dark Side of the Moon, as you said, playing in the background. But I feel like Blood Simple is definitely worth your time. And I feel like if you come into contact with, I don't think this movie's streaming or anything like that, but if you have a way to see this movie, it's a fun compliment to see this sometime after whatever space of time that is up to you, but sometime after seeing Blood Simple, it's fun to see how they do, how the similarities. But this movie's not fresh.
No.
This movie's not, it was 34% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know how many reviews it had, but I'm more favorable on it than that. I mean, I feel like it's kind of a fun movie to watch. It's not nearly as good as Blood Simple, but I think it's an interesting film. 40% audience score. Roger Ebert, not so hot on it, gave it 2 stars. Leonard Maltin, slightly better, 2.5 stars. So, yeah, it was kind of lukewarm on it.
I can get that. I can see that. All right. Well, on these Wednesday episodes, we always like to answer viewers' questions. And we're talking about movies that were either directed by Joel and Ethan Coen or based off of movies directed by Joel and Ethan Coen. So I don't think we ever talked about how we feel about the Coen Brothers filmography. So let's talk about that and maybe pull a favorite one from a list. So I haven't seen. Well, I don't know. I feel like I've seen about half of the Coen Brothers movies. I'm not. I wasn't super hot on them. Like I feel like everyone is. Like I feel like they're like the indie I don't know if they're indie, but I feel like they're like movie critic darlings.
They're darlings. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So so for me, some of their movies just really didn't really work for me. Like I know we kind of don't see eye to eye on like Inside Llewyn Davis. I know you care for that movie a lot more than I do. I think probably the Fargo was probably the first movie I saw of theirs, and I think that's pretty good. A good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Some of their other stuff like Lady Killers,
Another remake.
Yeah, another remake. Yeah. So I don't know. I get kind of hot and cold on the Coen Brothers as I go through their movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have like a general feeling for the Coen Brothers overall?
Yeah, I think I've seen everything that they have done, maybe with the exception of The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I think that may be the only film that I've actually not seen of theirs. So I've seen all of them.
Yeah, I've seen more than I have.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, like I remember when Raising Arizona came out, I rented it on VHS.
I still haven't seen Raising Arizona.
Yeah. Well, we'll do that at some point. But I remember renting it on VHS and liking it, but that was only their second film, so it's not like they were the Coen Brothers. They weren't as well known as they are now. So, but I thought it was a funny movie. I liked it. And then like Miller's Crossing came out, and then I know there's some films. And Barton Fink came out, and then they did Big Lebowski towards the end of the '90s, and that's a huge. I feel like Big Lebowski and Fargo are probably their two most popular. Yeah. Even though No Country for Old Men won Best Picture, I feel like Fargo and Big Lebowski are two of their most beloved films and probably most seen films by most people. Because especially Big Lebowski, people are like, "Oh yeah, the dude," and it's like it's very much a guy movie to me. It's I feel like every male person that I've ever met in my life is like, "I love the Big Lebowski." Yeah, I'm not saying I don't like it, but I'm just saying like
I'm slowly warming up to the Big Lebowski. Yeah. I've seen it a couple times, and I don't actually. It's been long enough where I don't exactly remember how I feel about the Big Lebowski. It was about the time you dressed up as the Big Lebowski.
I did dress up as the dude for Halloween.
Yeah, the dude. Sorry, that I remember watching it. So it's been a bit for me. So that being said, what is your? Do you have a top couple, or were you?
Yeah, I mean, thinking about their filmography, I like the majority of the things that I've seen from them. I do like Big Lebowski. I'm not as huge a fan of Big Lebowski as many people are, but I'm like you. I feel like it took me some viewings to kind of get more into it. Fargo's good, stuff like that. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, et cetera, et cetera. Man Who Wasn't There is a movie that I feel like is criminally underrated. That's one of theirs, which is good with Billy Bob Thornton. I do not like Burn After Reading. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, I want to revisit that one because I remember that one I remember the hype for that movie being really good. Yeah. And I remember being kind of let down. I was like, oh, it's a Coen Brothers movie. I'm used to being kind of like feeling this way about it, but I remember like it seemed like a lot of people liked it.
Yeah. I was surprised at how much I liked Hail Caesar because I enjoyed that. I didn't think I was going to, but I really liked that.
That was the one I was going to call out as one of my top ones because, like you, when I watched it, I'm like, I really liked it. I kind of really liked it. Good. I mean, where do you fall in like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
I like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, but I've seen it once when it came out, so that's 20 years ago, over 20 years ago. Not saying I wouldn't like it now. I have no idea how I would envision it now, or envision it. How I would what my interpretation of it would be now. But I did like it back then.
I feel like it's like a lot of it.
Yeah.
But I also haven't seen it since it came out, so I don't know.
Heck of a soundtrack, right? The soundtrack was a million, billion, trillion seller.
Yep, Dapper Dan.
Sold a lot of, I prefer Fop or whatever. Fop and Dapper Dan. You pointed out a movie that I think would be very high on my list, and that's Inside Llewyn Davis. I mentioned last week that I had watched, like Don't Look Back and like some of the Dylan documentaries. And I feel like they did such a good job of kind of recreating that New York folk scene, and to the point where they have like fake songs and they have real songs too, but they have different songs that they put in the film, or maybe they're all real. I can't even remember that maybe they were actual songs that I know some of them are real, maybe some of them are fake, or maybe I'm completely stupid and don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, they have some really cool songs in there that I was not familiar with. But I really think that their vision of 60s New York and the folk scene is cool. The movie's kind of like, I guess it's a takeoff on like the Odyssey or something like that. I can't remember. And he's trying to get this cat and whatever. But I think it's a cool movie. That's not my favorite Coen Brothers movie, but it's pretty high up there. It's one of their more recent films that I dig quite a bit. What about you?
I was gonna, like you said, Hail Caesar was probably gonna be like my runner-up. I need to revisit Fargo. It's been a while since I've seen it. I've seen the TV show, and I remember liking it, but I just need to watch it again. I need to have it more readily available in my memory. But like I said, I was really surprised with Hail Caesar when I watched it and how much I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I think my number one for me is probably No Country for Old Men.
Okay.
I really, really, really dig the movie. It feels, I was going to say it doesn't feel like a Coen Brothers movie, but in seeing kind of Blood Simple, I think I can kind of feel like, okay, I can see the groundwork that kind of led to this, because that is a very I think it's probably and I haven't seen all their movies, their bleakest movie. It is just like unrelenting and bleak, and it's not tongue in cheek like some of their stuff is, and it doesn't really have any like really big characters. It's just like, you have Anton Chigurh, and you have I can't even think of the actor, Tommy Lee Jones as character and stuff like that. So it's like it's very like bleak, but I think it plays out really well and really interesting. And it's one of those movies that if I had my druthers, it'd be something I would like to make something of that sort, of that ilk, and kind of hang my hat on, because I think it's a great movie. So that's kind of where I am on their filmography and my favorite.
Yeah, so you talking about Fargo makes me think. I have seen, I think, everything that they've done with the exception of the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. But most of the films that I've seen of theirs, I've seen just once.
Yeah.
Inside Llewyn Davis is an exception. I've seen that multiple times. I've seen Big Lebowski multiple times. I've seen Blood Simple multiple times. But things like Miller's Crossing, Barton Fink, Hudsucker Proxy, I've No Country for Old Men, I've only seen once. And I feel like I need to revisit all of these films more so that I can get, a good sense of where I fall in Coen Brothers territory. But since I haven't done that yet, I'm going to say my favorite Coen Brothers film, and I think I may have said this on a previous episode, maybe I haven't, is Raising Arizona. That's my favorite Coen Brothers film. I just think it's hilarious, it's wacky, it's crazy. I love the pre-credits sequence. I mentioned that. I know
you have,
in a previous episode. I absolutely love the pre-credit sequence, but that's just a fun movie that I could watch anytime, any day, any year.
All right.
Yeah. So for me, my number one choice, Raising Arizona.
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, it's your turn now. Let us know what your favorite Coen Brothers movie is. It's not A Simple Plan because it's not directed by them, but it could be Blood Simple. It could be Fargo. It could be Raising Arizona. It could be Lady Killers. Who likes that movie with Tom Hanks?
It has its fans.
It probably does. It could be
Man Who Wasn't There.
Man Who Wasn't There. Let us know. Leave a comment down below if you're watching us on YouTube, or shoot us an email, realshame@gmail.com. Share the episode. That really helps spread the word of the show, and we really do appreciate that. Shoot us an email. I think I've said that a couple times now. At realshame@gmail.com. Send us a viewer question. Let us know what you think. All that kind of stuff. We're on social media. We're on Instagram @realshame. And stay tuned next week as we cross some movies off his list. And we might be doing a similar format to what we did this week with the movies we chose. So stay tuned to that. And we'll see you soon, guys. Bye.